Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for your time. As you can see, the focus today is on the Continuing Professional Development Program. If you've got any questions, please raise your hand or make a comment in the chat box so that we know there are questions. And our intention is that this is more of a workshop than a presentation. So we're going to be asking you some questions along the way. We're going to ask you for feedback. Okay, so I think the first point is let's get an understanding of who's with us today. And so we're going to ask you to respond to a poll. So if you can respond by clicking on, give us your answer on this poll, please. Question is, which designation do you have? Okay, so see 5 responses. We've got 1 ordinary member. Ah, there we go. We've got 2 technicians. We've got 3 skills development practitioners. Great. So even if you're an ordinary member, you're most welcome. We're hoping that you will go the rest of the route and get yourself a designation. So the information that you'll get here is going to be useful to you when you've done that. So what we've wanted to do with this presentation is to try and answer 2 questions that I think that you've probably got. One is, how do you get CPD points? And the second one is, how do you submit a record of that to the ASDSA? So let's just give a bit of a context. Question is, why CPD? What is this all about, continuing professional development? Well, the issue is that as a professional, somebody with a professional designation, you are required to remain current in your field, and you've got to be able to show that. And our field is a rapidly changing one. The skills development field is at the moment in the process of dramatic and profound changes. If you look at what's happening just in terms of our regulatory and legislative environment right now, there are ongoing changes to the skills development landscape. As you may know, we run a conversations event every fortnight. One of the most recent ones, John Arneson unpacked the changes to the skills development, to the PSET landscape. And basically, pretty much every bit of legislation or regulation that we work with is undergoing changes. And the Skills Development Act, B Act, Tax Act, Higher Education, are all undergoing changes. And the regulations are coming behind the legislation. So for example, you might be aware that in the public sector, they have draft regulations out regarding professionalizing in the public sector. And for example, one of the things that they're considering is that they will require that in the selection process, that for some of the jobs, you have to have a professional designation. So there's a lot happening. Then also, and I think everybody's very aware of what's happening with 4IR. We're seeing more and more that learners actually expect that they have access to technology-enabled learning. We're also seeing changes in how the qualifications get delivered. The legacy qualifications are going. The new occupational certificates are not easy. You've got to work to grasp what's actually going on there. And also, I think we're seeing articulation has become an issue in our country more and more, and it's getting more and more publicity focus from SAQA, and it's coming more to the forefront. And so there's an expectation that what I've done in one field will be relevant in another field, and more and more on a global level. So I think that's we're probably going to be seeing that some of our learners are going to say, well, I don't want a local qualification, I want an international qualification, because it gives you wider access. I think we're going to see more and more. So there's a lot happening, and it's very difficult for us to remain current. So CPD then is actually about confirming that you're on top of your game, to yourself, to your colleagues, and to your clients. And just think about it. If you're looking to advance your career, think about the relative value of having just a qualification versus the relative value of having a professional designation. And part of the deal of a professional designation is that it's a way that you can show that you have stayed on top of your game. So that's why it's not just a requirement from SAQA via the professional bodies. It's actually beneficial to you if you know that you've remained current in your field, and you can track. You can look back and say, yeah, there's an external body that is monitoring what I'm doing, and I can get a confirmation in my own mind. I know that therefore I'm staying on top of my game. So whose responsibility is it? Remaining current is essentially, in the first place, the responsibility of the professional with the designation. And so it's really saying to you, you need to identify what's going to help you remain current in the areas that you're working in. And that's what should be part of your focus on remaining current and part of your CPD program. What the professional body can do is provide an objective external body to confirm that you are current. So what then does the ASDSA require if we're going to do that confirming? And the minimum mark is, and I think you probably know this, but it's 30, you need to get 30 CPD points every year. Now, we've made a number of assumptions as part of our CPD program, and these assumptions came out of what they call the Parktown Agreement. Now, what's it, about 2018, 13 of the professional bodies got together and said, listen, let's stand together and let's state in very simple terms what we stand for. And this is these next, there are 2 slides of them. These next, 7 assumptions are shared across all of these professional bodies. So the first one is that it's about ongoing improvement of specific designation-linked competencies. So just think about that a minute. So what you're needing to include in your CPD program is activities that are linked to your particular designation. So the things that you might be looking at as a technician would be different to what you're looking at as a practitioner, and different again if you're a master. If you want to know what those designation and competencies are, go to the ASDSA website. And if you look under the tab called designations and scroll down a little bit, you'll find the designation descriptions which contain these competencies. By the way, we are in the process of updating these designation descriptions with SAQA. So what you're seeing on our website is the most recent version. Once SAQA has ratified them, they'll then be listed on the SAQA website. Currently, if you wanted to catch up on what you need to be looking at, look at our website, because it'll give you that. The second thing that the professional bodies are saying is that CPD must be possible to do in a wide variety of places. It's not just one thing that you might do. So it can occur in the workplace, can occur while you're coaching and mentoring or being coached and being mentored, can occur outside of your workplace. It can occur through courses, workshops, and seminars. And it can also occur through self-directed learning. And the nature of living and working remotely for many of us is that it has given us opportunities to do some self-directed learning. So the reading up that you do, the research that you do, that's self-directed learning. Thirdly, it says that it must be cognate with the designee's profession. Cognate is a word which was relatively new to me, but I see that it's quite widely used in SAQA. And it's basically saying it needs to be relevant to the designee's profession. And again, if you go back to the designation descriptions on our website, look there to see what is being referred to specifically. Fifth, number 1 is that the professional must take responsibility for your own record. The 6th and 7th are very important ones to think about. So we measure CPD very simply. CPD points are typically measured in direct hours. 1 relevant CPD hour is 1 CPD point. And then the last one is, so it's 1 CPD point per hour, okay? And then what do you need as proof? Because obviously you've got to confirm, you've got to substantiate if you're saying you've got CPD points. So it's verifiable proof of attendance is the minimum requirement for awarding CPD points. So we have currently, we've revised our CPD process very recently, following on from the revision of our evaluation process. And we've made it a very simple process. So currently it is just proof of attendance, verifiable proof of attendance. We may review it in a year's time, but just to get everybody going on collecting CPD points and collecting substantiating evidence, we've kept it as simple as possible. So that those 2, 6 and 7, are the key ones you've got to bear in mind. We've made also a couple of undertakings as the ASDSA. The first one is that we're going to make it as easy as possible for designees to undertake CPD. This should not be an onerous additional burden to a designee. We will certainly, from our own side, make as many opportunities available as possible for our designees. So, for example, you can get CPD points for attending this workshop. And for most of the ASDSA events, you can get CPD points. And you'll see at the end, we'll put up a place where you can click on to get your CPD points. So a lot of the activities that we organize, you can get CPD points for. You can also get, if you're part of another professional body, and both Sharon and I are members of, I'm a member of one other professional body. Sharon's a member of about 4. But the undertaking across these professional bodies is that they will accept CPD points that are awarded by another professional body, as long as they're relevant to our designations. So I'm part of SABPP. So anything that I do, most of the things that I might do there that are, as long as they're relevant to the skills development field, I can use those CPD points for ASDSA as well. And then it's not just there, you know, there are many other areas where you will find, you may attend a workshop, a seminar, a conference by another party. As long as you can get proof of attendance, you can get CPD points for it. And the rule is it's 1 hour per CPD point. 2 things are essential. Firstly, your CPD points must be verifiable. We do audit. We have a requirement that we audit 10% of the records that we get every year. So it's not a given that you're going to be audited, but we are obliged to do auditing. If we do audit, it's at that point in time that we'll want to say, you've claimed 43 CPD points. Please show us your records. So they must be verifiable, and they must be in line with the relevant designation competency for your designation. Okay. So what happens if I don't meet CPD requirements? Well, if you don't remain, and this is the onus is on you to remain current. If you don't remain current and you can demonstrate that with CPD points, then you risk losing your designation. And of course, if you want to get it back, you need to start from scratch again, which means applying and putting together a new portfolio of evidence. So it's as well to do what you can do to get your CPD points. But as I think you'll see as we talk more about it today, you'll find that it's not as difficult as it might seem. You will probably wind up with more CPD points than you actually need to hit the minimum requirement. Okay. So the key thing then is planning. CPD points is not something that you can swat in the last couple of weeks before the end, when your report is due. You know, you either have done the learning or you haven't. So it's important to, at the beginning of the cycle, is to have a decent plan as to where are you going to get CPD points. And I think you're probably familiar with this logic. Okay, so sit down and make your own plan. Do it, keep track of it, and then reflect on it. So what sort of things might be useful to you in planning CPD, and then collecting CPD points. So there's a lot of things that you can think about. We've indicated some of them, but here's a bit more information. So any learning program that's formally assessed, so it could be a qualification, or it could be any webinar or similar event that includes a formal assessment. Okay? Often you'll see, I know, for example, that the SABPP often runs events where they'll tell you this event is worth 4 CPD points. And there's some exercise that you need to do at the end of it to get those CPD points. It also includes workshops, seminars, and conferences that are not formally assessed. So that could be via professional bodies such as ASDSA, it could be via CETA. I'm an independent SDF and I have clients across 7 CETAs, and every single one of them runs at least one forum each year. I know that in the local government sector, LG CETA runs typically quarterly events. Now, each one of those could get you CPD points as long as you can get proof of attendance. If you're delivering workshops or presentations or papers, that also can get you CPD points. If you're doing research, if you're writing articles or publications, okay, if you're doing any groundbreaking professional work-based activities, so that could be making some sort of contribution, typically at a national or international level. That might be with, for example, LGCETA. It might be part of the ASDSA because we have a lot of committee work that needs doing that is typically groundbreaking regarding professional work-based activities. If we put together a position paper, all of that stuff, those sort of contributions fit into that category. Could be self-directed learning that's not formally assessed. Any self-study program, typically completed remotely, or reading. Issue is going to be, how do you prove it? Certainly reading, how do you prove your reading? So that's harder to get evidence there, but it is part of remaining current. And then lastly, your professional contributions to individuals or organizations. So just membership of a professional body gets you one CPD point. If you're mentoring people, or if you're participating in a formal committee in a professional body. So for example, the ASDSA has regional committees. If you can get yourself onto one of those committees, you'll get CPD points for the activities that take place there. So I think there's quite a lot of food for thought here. And I'd like you to start thinking about where in your current diary are there activities that actually form part of your remaining current. Just think about it a moment, and then there's a poll up there that I'd like you to respond to. Question, how many opportunities for CPD are already in your diary? So we've got 2, 4, 5, 1 more response waiting on. 2, 4, 6, everybody's there. So I'm sorry for, I've only got 1. I think if you look harder, you may well discover some stuff. But if you look, most other people have got, there's a fair bit that's actually already in your diary. So then the question that I'm going to ask you now is, start making a list for yourself. And we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Start making a list now of things that you are already in your diary, and you must make sure that you get some proof of attendance, or add some things that you think you could easily build into your CPD program. So please take a few minutes, and we're going to ask for some feedback once you're done. What are the things that you could include in your CPD program? I'm going to stop sharing, and let's ask people to give us some of the ideas that they've had. You can either type them up in the chat room, or you can unmute your mic and just tell us. Come, somebody. Who's first?
Anybody want to start? Maybe Elizabeth or Donnie? Michelle, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Hi there. It's lovely to be part of this. I'm Michelle van Zyl from Solplaatje Municipality in Kimberley. I'm currently running the ISDG program, which is Infrastructure Skills Development Program for National Treasury. We've been running it since 2012. And that is basically professionalizing young engineers, town planners, etc. So that we're doing on a regular basis. So we monitor the monitoring of the mentors and the supervisors related to the professionalizing of these candidates. So I would imagine if I would either develop a plan of that, but I report to council on a regular basis and to National Treasury. Then we are currently undergoing our revision of our policy. So I would imagine our training policy would be something to research with other municipalities and benchmark, and then improve on that one. And then, yes, I participate on some of the I'm a trustee at the LA Retirement Fund. So we do quite a lot of webinars that are related to governance and capacitation of trustees. So, so where I can, I participate in webinars and surveys and that kind of thing. So I would imagine it would be able to, if you just sit down and see how you can give proof of it, it would assist.
I was going to say, I think that's probably your biggest challenge is to get find a way to confirm it. Look, you may also then want to just get some testimonials from people. Because that you know, certainly the work that you're doing, if you're seeing it as groundbreaking work, you might need to draft a testimonial and get a credible source to confirm the role that you played and the amount of participation you've had. That's another way to get some proof of attendance.
Okay, can I just check with you that, let's call it that testimonial. I've already got a few and awards from national, but now must it be current for it to be noted?
Look, you're reporting in your CPD record, you're reporting on the previous 12 months. So that's what you want to look for. Okay,
starting from when?
And it's a very good question, by the way. Have a look at your the membership certificate that you will have got from ASDSA. That will tell you when your record is due. So we expect you to give us your record once a year at the same time that you renew your membership.
Yeah.
So you just send in the record card, and I think you'll have received from us the revised record document. Angelique, just confirm that we did send it to everybody, but it's that record that we want once a year, not all the evidence. And the time period, as I say, that you'll get a reminder beforehand, a month beforehand will remind you. But look at your certificate now, so that you can see when it is due. And if your membership is about to expire and is due for renewal and you've got a crisis, let me know and we'll make a plan. This is not intended to be a stick to beat you with.
Yeah, it's important for us to also just build a little bit of knowledge around the CPD, because we found that a lot of people don't understand all the elements that they can draw CPD points from, and a lot of it comes from your working environment, because we're constantly learning in our working environment. So that is why we wanted to do the webinar with everybody.
Okay, I don't want to belabor the point. So I think Michelle's given us quite a lot to think about, and I'm happy to move on unless somebody else has some stuff they'd like to check out or share with us. If you do, would you raise your hand? And I think we've spoken about this. Important considerations, what you can include and how can you get evidence. Okay, and I think you spend some time now thinking about where your opportunities are. So, reporting. And I think you've seen this document already. Sharon has kindly given us a model to look at. Top of the page is your information. And you know, when the times, you'll see that she's actually looking at 56. She reckons she's accumulated 56 points. And I think you're going to find that that's the case, that you've got more points than you're above the minimum that's required. So administration, the 3 steps: get a record of all CPD events, complete the record and submit it, and you'll get your renewal designation confirmed. And as I've said, we audit 10%, and it's at that point only that we're going to ask you for evidence. So all we require from you now is to give us the record at your renewal date. So completing the CPD record. And again, I'm going to ask you to do a poll. Angelique, if you can post it, are you still there? Ah, there we go. How far have you got with your own CPD? Okay, one person is doing really well. Okay. So it's clear that, yeah, there's a lot of work still to be done for most people. Okay, thanks. Some simple steps, well, I think they're relatively simple steps. How do you go about doing this? Listing your CPD activities. You need to list the activities that you're presenting, include the evidence you've collected and the CPD points that you're claiming. It's as simple as that. Guidelines: save each piece of evidence as a separate document so that it can be easily identified, and then give it a unique number and a unique name. And there's an example, and then specify the CPD points. That's the exercise. This is the record card that we were asking you to do. So we've already put a number in for you. So you need to just create a unique title for each piece of evidence you're submitting and the CPD points claimed. And we've included an example. Sharon, do you want to comment on what you've got on here?
So basically, how I started was I often use my diary. So that's my starting point. Is my diary is my key. It's my planning mechanism. It's where I put all of my meetings. It's got all of my my Zoom calendars in it as well. And I can very easily go to my folders where I've saved any minutes or CPD record cards. We get CPD record cards from some of the other professional bodies that relate. And then I also save any presentations that I've done for external role players. But yeah, I start with minutes of meetings and preparation and participation in various committees. The professional body membership, I added that as a CPD point. Then I did some mentoring of one of the technicians. So I allocated the number of hours that I actually undertook in that process. Looking again at my emails that were sent, that's my evidence of the time that I spent with the person doing the actual mentorship, and then the documentation that we went through with her. So it's just a matter of keeping the evidence in a specific place of everything that you're undertaking. And it's very simple. You normally save your documentation on your computer somewhere. It's also saving it in that CPD record card. So what I do is every year I create a folder that says CPD evidence for 2020, and I save the evidence in there as well as wherever the target area is that I need to save it for my normal working environment. I did also put down things like any public consultations that we did with regards to legislation where we had to do some research, and then I allocated the number of hours that we undertook in that research and the public comments that we made. So you can see there's a variety of different things that I undertook. I did some assessments, I did engagement with other professional bodies, so RPL advising. So there's a mix of different things that I did on that CPD throughout. And this was only currently now, I think we did a 6-month or 8-month review just to have some evidence to show everybody what I had done in the last 6 or 8 months. Okay, any questions? Very importantly, which I think came up in the last meeting, is one of the questions that was asked was workplace skills plans, if they are for 30,000 people or 300 people that you're submitting your workplace skills plans for, do you claim for the number of hours, or do you claim a point per workplace skills plan submitted? It is 1 point per workplace skills plan submitted. So if you only submitted 4 workplace skills plans, you claim 4 points. I submitted 2 plans, so I claim 2 points. Okay.
This is the sort of record that we will look at, and we will do a brief desktop examination of each record that comes in. And you can see quite quickly, as you look at this one, that there's a range of activities. We're only going to be auditing if, for example, we have questions about something, or if there are less than 30 CPD points. But I suspect that most people will have more than 30 points. There's a lot of stuff that you're going to be doing routinely anyway in terms of what you do. And so we may just have to audit people who already seem compliant, because we have a 10% target of auditing. Right, then submitting the CPD record. And I think we've already said this. It comes when your renewal fees are due, and it's just the record itself. Keep the evidence available in case we need to audit, in case we choose you to do an audit. And that brings us to the end of the session. Questions, comments, or thoughts? I think a question from me is, are you feeling a little bit more comfortable that you know what you need to be doing? Type up something in the chat room if needs be.
Maybe just to alert everybody, if you have a look in your chat, Angelique has just put in a link into the chat. So if you have a look at that link allows you to get CPD points for this session because you've done learning in this session. So if you click on that link, you fill in your details, it'll automatically send those details through to our database. Our database will then automatically generate a CPD record card for your session this morning. So it's important that you click on that link and get your CPD record card for today's session. Did everybody see that link? Can you just give me an affirmative? If you can just unmute your microphones and just say, yes, you've seen the link, or no, I don't know where the chat box is, or yes, thank you. All right, anybody else for any questions? Everything clear and understandable? You're all ready to do your CPD record card, so we'll be receiving 6 of them by close of business on Friday.
Gee, you're ambitious.
Am I being ambitious?
Yeah.
I am Andy. I've noticed that this CPD process is just like when you do a POE for your professional designation, where
Very
you have
similar.
to provide evidence
Yes.
that you have obtained this or attended that course. So is it the same? And I just want to confirm that I did receive the link here.
Perfect.
Look,
Thank you.
similar, Juanita. The difference is when you submit your record, don't give us the evidence. Just give us that Word document. Just keep the evidence in case it gets audited. That follows the same logic as you say.
Noted. Thank you, Andy.
Great.
Thank you, Anita.
Anybody else got anything that you'd like to raise? Then I think we're done for today. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time. And please click on the link, get your CPD points for today's session.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
It's a
Bye-bye
pleasure.
then.
Thank you.